Hi, thanks for tuning into the video. Before we get started, I wanted to invite you over to my personal website at toddbrandon.com. There you can find out more about me, and you can even contact me through the website. And now, on to the video. Hey everybody, Todd here. I hope this finds you doing well and staying safe. So in a previous video, I showed you how I export data from Access to a CSV file. As a part of that, or an extension of that, I wanted to show you today how you could actually add the date timestamp to the file name of that CSV. There's a couple of steps in the VBA, but it's really kind of cool and it's very useful. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hey everybody, in a previous video, I showed you how to export data from an Access database to a CSV file, and we actually dynamically pulled that from a query based on a combo box in our form here, and then we have a file path that we put in this text box here that actually saves with the file name based on this state that is selected in this combo box, and then it saves to the file path that we put in this text box. And over in our files, we have some files here that were actually named according to the state that was selected. What I want to show you in this video is how to go a step further and actually save these files with a date timestamp that makes for a unique file name. So if you were to perhaps save more than one file exports from Idaho within the same given day or time period or whatever, it won't, with this naming convention here, the next export is just going to save over this file, and you won't have this current form of the file. Now that may or may not be, the way you want to do it, but let's just say you want to maintain or keep all those files until you delete those manually. The way to do that is to date and timestamp and put that actually in the file name. So let's get started on this. So if I go back to Access, I'm going to go up here on the tab for my form. I'm going to go right click and select Design View. I have my button that has a click event that runs this export process already highlighted. So I'm going to go click on the Builder button, go back to that same private sub here that we've already run. So it's really simple to do this. If you haven't watched that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description below, and it's basically just one line of code. The second line is just a message box for an improved user experience. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get the date and time and then insert that into your file name. So I'm going to declare a variable, and it's going to be DTM complete. It's going to be a string. It's going to be DTM. I'm going to set this to DTM complete equals, and it's going to be C str open parentheses, and it's going to be the now function. It'll be now double parentheses, and then close that parentheses. And so what's happening here is this now function actually generates a date and time, and I've got to convert it to a string using this C string or CSTR function. And then what we'll do here is we'll put a stop here. I'm going to go back to my form. I'm going to run this procedure. And so if you go up here to DTM complete and hover over that, you'll notice that the variable is set to a string as denoted by the actual date value enclosed in double quotes. So we have to do that because otherwise, I should have shown you, but otherwise if I click on now or hover over now, you see the same value, but it's not enclosed in double quotes. That's because it's a date data type. And we want it to be a string data type so we can insert it into our file name. But what I want to do is, because the file names can't have these slashes or spaces or colons in them, we need to remove those and replace those. And basically, we're going to replace them with nothing. So let me stop this. And so what I need to do is I need to replace all three of those values, the slash, the spaces, and the colons. And I can do that by doing each one at a time. But what I can also do is create an array, and then I can use a for loop to cycle through the entire array of those values, those 3 string values, and just run the replace function 3 times within that loop. So how do I do that? So I'm going to declare another variable. It's going to be replace ARR for replace array. And then I'm going to set that equal to array, open parentheses, and then in double quotes, I'm going to put each one of those string values separated by commas. And so now I have an array of 3 different string values, the forward slash, the space, and then a colon. And so the next thing I want to do is I'll do a for loop. So it'll be for I equals L bound replace array to U bound replace ARR. And then it'll be, I'll wrap that up with next I. And so in between these 2 lines of code, whatever I put in there, it's going to go through as many times as there are elements of the replace array. And there's 3. So it's going to go through 3. So I will be set to equal, in theory, it's set to 1, and then it goes to 2, and then 3. But in reality, because arrays are by default and 0 index, that means this first term or this first element of the array has an index of 0. The second element of the array has an index of 1. The third element of the array has a value of or an index of 2. And so let me just be a good VBA coder here and dim I as integer. All right. So what I need to happen within this loop is I just need to run the exact same function, exact same line of code for each one of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set our DTM complete variable equal to the manipulation of its current value, which once this is all done, this will be this same value with the slash, the space, and the colon removed. And so this needs to be set to replace. I'll open the parentheses. The first expression as a string is actually our current value of that variable. And then we're finding each one of these 3 values in this array. So we need to go type replace ARR, parentheses I, close parentheses. So for every cycle through this for loop, whatever value I is, like the first one would be 0. So the element in the 0 index of the array is the slash. And so now it's going to replace that slash with whatever we tell it to replace it with. In this case, it's just going to be double quotes, nothing in between it. So for every one of these, we're actually replacing it with nothing. So it'll be that same value that daytime complete already is. It's just going to remove the slashes, the spaces, and the colons, and it'll have nothing in between those once we get done. All right, so let me run this. I'm going to put a couple of stops in here so we can step through it so you guys can actually see what's happening. And I'll run that export process. Okay, so let's go ahead and type F8. And then now we're into our for loop. So you can see if I hover over L bound replace ARR, it gives us a 0 because that's the lower bound of our array. The smallest index is 0. If I go to this one and hover over it, it tells us it equals 2 because 2 is the maximum index of this array. So 0, 1, 2. All right, and currently I is equal to 0 because we're starting at U bound or L bound, sorry, and then we're going to U bound. So that's correct. And so now I'll hit F8, and then now DTM complete. If we see the current, so this is the current value. Remember, it's the string of that datetime value, and it's got the slashes, it's got the spaces, it's got the colon. So this time it's going to replace the slashes. So let's keep going. Let's F8. And now see here, it already changed the value of DTM complete. And notice the slashes are gone and they've now been replaced with nothing. So let's type F8 one more time. Now we're going to go through the second cycle where I think I went a little fast, so I is already 2, but let's just see. Now the spaces have been removed. The last remaining substring to be removed is the colon, and that'll happen on this time around. We'll hit F8, and now we see DTM complete is nothing but all the actual number values with the PM on the end of it. And this is what we want, because now we can append this to our file name with no problems. And so now we'll go down here. I actually didn't add that to our code, but with this still in process in debug mode, we can actually add that. So remember, we have my export underscore with the state. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that date time stamp on the end of it. And the way I do that is I just type in the name of the variable, DTM complete. And I can actually put an underscore between those by putting in some double quotes and an underscore in between those, put another ampersand before the DTM complete. And so this is getting pretty crazy to look at. It's throwing an error there because I didn't put another ampersand here. So every time that you put a string value, a literal string value, and then another value like a variable or an actual value from a form element, you have to put an ampersand in to make sure you're basically concatenating these values. So we've got this part of the value, this string. This is a standard, just my export. Then it's going to put state in there. That's going to put another underscore before it puts the date time complete, and then it'll put .csv for that. So now I can go ahead and step through that again. I can continue on, type F8, and then F8 one more time. The export is now complete. So I can go ahead and hit this button here, and it's actually finally done. Let me close this. And now if we go over to our path, we can see we've got this export now with a date timestamp for main. Let me just clean this up a little bit. We don't need all these other guys. And now let me go back. Let's run another one. Export that. Export is complete. Oh, let's run. What we had several in Idaho. We can run that. And then I'm going to run this one more time and then show you it'll actually save 2 different files for the same state, just with a different date timestamp. So remember, we have the main, we have one from Montana, and then we have 2 from Idaho. And in fact, it tells us this one was run at, oh gosh, what is that? 624 at 46 seconds, and this one was run at 624 at 50 seconds. So you actually have 2 different files. If we, for some reason we had run this a couple hours apart, maybe some new customers had been added with that are in the state of Idaho, we would get 2 different sets of records and sets of values in these files. But that's just one more way you can dynamically name your CSV files. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was helpful. I know I ran through that array and for loop pretty quick, but please leave comments below. If you have any questions, you're not clear on anything, I would love to hear from you. And then certainly hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification button so you get notifications of when I upload new videos. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it adds value to your skill set, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you and have a great day.